Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
What's up? It's Joe.
What's going on, Joe? How are you?
I'm ready to record, sir.
So let's just mention to the listeners, we are pre-recording this mainly because I am in, or I guess I'll be back from Milwaukee, but I was in Milwaukee this past week for Midwest DJs Live.
But you can't tell us how it was because
no. Let me predict. It was fantastic. Todd and our seminar went great.
Standing ovation.
Standing ovation. Dave Lander, I see, is on the schedule. He was awesome. He also spun that night, and he was phenomenal. Wouldn't it be amazing if my plane goes down on the way there?
Jesus, stop it.
Would you post this then or not? Yes, I guess it would because I will have already scheduled it to post, and you don't know how to unschedule it. So this
You're right.
drop.
I do not know that.
That would be fucked up. Ooh, okay. You know, I say that just so that it doesn't happen.
No, right, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mike Walter lives forever.
Like we talked about last week, we teased, this topic comes from a very good friend of mine in the industry, Johnny V. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm just going to call him Johnny V. Johnny is out of close to Philadelphia, out of PA, and he and I chat from time to time, you know, typically like on the way home from a gig or on the way to a gig. And he told me this story recently. He said he was plugged into it was one of those events where you plug into the house system. Do you have any down there like that?
There's one, and I've banned Randy from booking me there, put it that way.
Is it because it's substandard?
It's really substandard.
Okay. It's funny. We have some great ones up here, and they're phenomenal. It's, it saves you loading in your speakers.
Brian told me in New York City as well. Phenomenal. Yeah.
But so he was doing one, and there's an audio guy who's going to help him, get the settings and everything. And it's before the gig, but there are a few people in the room. I think it was a corporate event or something like that, and there's a few people in the room already, but the gig hasn't started yet, obviously. So he starts playing music. The audio guy, nothing's coming out. The audio guy's futzing around, doesn't understand. And the audio guy realized he had the whole system on mute. So he presses one button, and it goes from silence to way too loud. And so what does everybody do? Look over to see what's the DJ doing? It wasn't his fault, but it looked like it was fault. And then on top of that, I forget what artist he was sound checking with. I think he said Billy Joel. And then his contact came over and he said, no Billy Joel tonight. I hate Billy Joel. So, Johnny's point was he felt like through no fault of his own, he got off to a bad first impression with this client. Made up for it by the end of the night. They loved him. It was no big deal, everything else. But, he thought of this story and told me the story and said, it's a great topic, and it's something that we really should be aware of how important first impressions are. And we're talking about the physical first impressions when you show up at your events. And when he threw this topic at me, I thought, well, it's not just for the client, it's first impression for the banquet hall, for the vendors, for pretty much everybody that you're going to meet that day for the first time. So let's see if we can drill down on this topic and unpeel it a little bit and see what kind of tips we can share with our listeners about that, because I know it's important to you as well.
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly important. I've talked about it before on different types of platforms and things like that about making a first impression. I think it's something that Mike and I both stress and train and implore our people to do, starting with walking in the door and introducing yourself to the people that are in charge of that room. Up Mike's way, it seems to be kind of a maitre d' type title. Down here, it's sometimes a wedding planner, sometimes it's the venue owner or the people that she or he have tasked with being the point of contact. Introduced right off the bat as soon as I walk in. Everything from, like Mike said, how you're dressed. He had sent me an email about this and was like, let's cover it all. I mean, we go in, especially now that it's getting warmer here, in the company branded polo shirt and slacks and shoes. And to be fair, leave that on through the ceremony now that it's summertime. It's just, I've allowed that. It's still professional. It's tucked in. They look good. At that point, they're not really a focal point. They're for lack of a better word, a sound guy. Unfortunately, we've been tasked with that, as you know, over the last 6-10 years. And, setting up, getting in, getting out of the way, getting your stuff set up, putting your cases away. And I think my favorite story that I've told on here before is a guy named Steve Stowe that's been with me forever. Is notoriously early, like 3 hours early. I'm good for 2, but he's like 3. So he gets his stuff done in an hour usually, and instead of sitting on his phone watching the Carolina football game on a Saturday afternoon, he's offering to help other people in that room. He's tying on chair covers. He's lighting candles. He's doing whatever he needs to do, and it has gone so far that he became almost like notorious for it or famous for it. Like people were saying, like, man, you got a good one there. That we were doing a wedding. This may have even been a room flip. We had 25 minutes to flip this room. Steve, already had his gear staged. He rolled his gear out and then just helped us start rolling tables out and throwing on linens. And it's just stuff like that, just as a business owner, makes you proud. And it also made me start really thinking, okay, I don't need to be on my phone. I don't need to be posting right now. I don't need to be checking the score of the game. Like, why am I not doing that? And then I passed it on to my guys. Listen to the story about Steve. This led to who knows how many more shows. You guys need to be doing stuff like this as well.
Right. And that's one of those things I will offer it if I have time and I'm just standing.
Sure.
And more than half the time, the banquet hall says, no, that's okay. We got it.
Same.
And I even make the joke, I don't want to move those tables, but I'll move chairs because because a lot of times they're moving those preset tables and I'm like, I don't want to be in charge of that, but I can put chairs in the place. You know what I mean?
My one hard and fast one is I won't move the cake.
Move the cake.
I'm like, you got to go back
never touch the cake.
You have to go back there and grab some staff. I cannot.
Because that's one of those things that goes from a positive to a negative. You want to talk about a bad first impression? Woo! You knocked the cake over, even though you were trying to be helpful. Yeah. So man, you covered so much there that was great. Let me just see if I can fill in a few of the blanks.
Okay.
First and foremost, I know you're a huge proponent of first names.
Yes.
And how important first names are. And I will bogart your tip and give you 100% credit. Joe shared this tip in a seminar years and years ago, and I've adopted it, and I've encouraged my staff to adopt it. All day long, I am saying the couple's name. Friday night, my wedding is Sarah and Chris. So I've even begun now, 2 days before the wedding, but Friday before the wedding, I will be saying Sarah and Chris all day.
Same.
Now, the main reason for that is, I don't want to forget all night long, but there are plenty of times I walk into a banquet hall and the couple are taking pictures right in the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
Or in the room, or you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I don't want to go, what's her name?
Paperwork. Where's my paperwork?
You know what I mean? Right there. Sarah, oh my God, you look so beautiful.
Yes.
Great. I'm so happy you got a beautiful day. Whatever the conversation is at that point, I'm not scrambling for her name. But I will also say that about the banquet people. And this is where, as the owner of a multi-op, I can help my people tremendously. I don't know if you do this, but I make what I call a confirmation call every Thursday, where I call every one of my headliners who are doing an event that weekend and just go over the details with them. And part of that phone call, because a lot of that stuff they could just see on DJ Event Planner. You know what I mean? What's your balance due? What's your start time? Where are you? That stuff is just, this goes back to my days before we had an online planner. And even at Elite, before we had an online planner, I just wanted to make sure if there were any last minute changes that my DJ was up on that. But one of the things that I can fill in for them that might not be top of mind is, what are the names of the people that you're going to bump into at this banquet hall?
Oh, wow.
So,
that's nice.
When I talked to a DJ last weekend who was at the Spring Lake Manor, I reminded them, hey, by the way, Spring Lake Manor recommends us highly.
Yeah.
The owner's name is John. You'll probably work with Janine as your maitre d'. Thank them. As a matter of fact, that I looked it up. This job came from a Spring Lake Manor referral. Thank them for all the referrals, blah, blah, blah. So this way, when you walk in, when this DJ walked in, he might never have met Janine, might never have worked there. But he can say, are you Janine? Oh, yeah, Mike told me to say hello. Thanks so much for the referrals. Is there anything I can do for you tonight? Again, first names. And as the owner of the company, you can, you probably know those names, and Joe Randy probably knows those names. But do all of your DJs know every single banquet? No. But you probably do. So you can help.
Or Randy.
Educate them with either a phone call or an email or something that will kind of fill in a blank, because it goes back to that. Listen, I know when I walk into a banquet hall, if the maitre d' goes, Mike, it's great to see you again, I feel, she sees a million DJs. The fact that she remembers my name, that feels pretty damn good.
Yes. Yes, man. I love that tip. I have found myself doing, so I do about 40 shows a year. Randy does like your numbers, like 120 or something. And so I found myself on plenty of Friday afternoons.
Hey, who's the maitre d' at blah, blah, blah?
Call Randy. Hey, man, have you been to this new place? What's the load in? Is there an elevator? Is it ground floor? And then who am I speaking to there? And he'll be like, oh, it's Carol or whatever. You've met her at the NACE Awards. And I'll be like, oh, I do remember her. Okay. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly asking him, I know I haven't been there. I'm good enough with that, but do I know this person, or should I know this person that owns it?
And I'll give our listeners a tip in case if you don't have a guy like Randy who has all that information. If you look up a Banquet Halls reviews online, Wedding Wire or not, or even Google, a lot of past clients will mention not only the place but the specific names. Just like when a client leaves a review for Elite Entertainment, they will usually say, "Hey, our DJ Barry was phenomenal." Blah blah blah. So if you're like, "Oh, what is the name of that?" If you look up their reviews, you will often see it. You'll see, "Oh, Donna at the blah blah blah." So if you don't have a Randy on salary, that's a great cheat. That's a great workaround.
Killer tip.
What's up? Sorry to interrupt this amazing podcast, but I want to tell you a quick story. I love the beach, and living at the Jersey Shore, I get to enjoy it a lot during the summer. But because I have DJ Event Planner, I am never out of touch. I have scheduled events from my beach chair and sent contracts to clients while baking in the summer sun. Can you do that? If you have DJ Event Planner, you sure can. This system does it all. It streamlines everything you need to run a successful DJ business in one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner is perfect for solo DJ companies as well as large multi-ops. Your sales will increase with their best-in-the-business CRM tools and automated emails. And your customer satisfaction will go through the roof as your clients start to use the awesome online planning tools. Best of all, there's no software to install and no backups to worry about. So hit pause on this podcast, head to djeventplanner.com and start your free 30-day trial. Then you can return and finish listening to all of our brilliance. Let's talk about the sound check.
Yeah.
Because, Johnny basically, obviously the volume jumped and that was something bad and not his fault. But you can understand why everybody in the room looked at the DJ.
Absolutely.
And was like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Absolutely. We've all been there on
9 times out of 10,
too.
when I set up my gear, nobody from the event is in the room. It's usually wait staff is in the room. So a lot of times at that point, I'm not even on the microphone. I'll just say, hey, anything you guys want to hear? Because I don't care what I sound check with. It doesn't really matter to me. And so if they throw us, if somebody says, yeah, I'm a big Queen fan, or, or yeah, can you play the new one by Dua Lipa, whatever. Right. Yeah, I'd be happy to play a song to sound check to make these people happy who are going to be taking care of me later. They're going to be bringing me my food later, or, asking me if I want a cup of coffee or anything. So why not play to them and why not ask them? So
that's so good, man.
Yeah.
Every week I'm like, God dang that. This is the most selfish podcast in the world, folks. It's basically Mike educating me and all of you, and then I just write down tips. And
the fact that we've been doing this 5+ years and there's still some nuggets that you can get out of this head of mine.
That's good shit, man. Because I never really know. There's I feel like the go-to. I remember being in Boston at. Tyler Wallace did this little show around Christmas, I feel like, last year. And Ben Stowe was there demoing multiple brands of speakers. And he must have played, it was a Steely Dan song. And I can't remember if it was Peg or... But that must be like the de facto go-to like sound engineer sound check song. Yeah. I don't have one of those.
Right. I don't either. And I'm sure there are some people shouting at their phones right now going, no, you're supposed to sound check with this because the basses are low. And I don't know that stuff. No. But it's so funny that you mentioned Steely Dan, because that's also a thing I was going to suggest. There are some, if you get to know your Banquet people in the area.
Yeah.
Years ago, she's retired now from the business, but there used to be a maitre d' that we worked with at a place called Doolin's, and she loves Steely Dan. So whenever I set up, if she was in the room, I would play Hey 19 or
That's what it was.
Babylon or something like that. And she would and it just like if somebody plays a Prince song for me, she would automatically perk up. You know what I mean? She'd be busy running around doing and I hit it and she'd go, "Oh, thank you so much," because she knew I was playing it for her. So that's another thing. If you get to know the people in your market and what their tastes are. I mean, not everyone's going to have a favorite artist, and sometimes they're not even in the room. But if they are, and you know it, and you can drop it, that's just one little thing that will help make their. And I'm not even saying to do it to kiss ass, but just one little thing that will help brighten their day a speck.
Yeah, a bit. I agree, and I think a lot of times it's. Oftentimes I'm in a place where I can't even really truly get after it. You know what I mean? So sometimes instead of coming out with some sort of a banger, I will play something more moderate and not nearly the volume that, dancing is going to be.
Right.
More so, I want to make sure that is the controller connected to the computer? Is my mic good in every spot of this room? I'm walking it, blah, blah, blah. Test 1, 2, test, because often, let's just say you're in a hotel and maybe the adjacent ballroom or right down the hall, they're having a ceremony that for whatever reason we're not doing this time. Maybe they got the hotel to do the AV. So it goes back to Johnny V's point, even though it wasn't his fault. You also sometimes have to be really cognizant, is that the right word, of the volume. Yeah. Of the volume.
Yeah, aware of it.
Yeah, aware.
I got another one, but I don't want to cut you off. You got another one?
Yeah. No, I don't.
So this came from a Facebook post that I did a couple years ago. I was doing a wedding, and literally 2 minutes before intros, the videographer said to me, "Hey, man, can I get an audio feed?"
Oh, boy.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And I put up a post, and I was like, "Videographers, listen, I have no problem giving you an audio feed, but can you not ask me 2 minutes for intros?" And somebody wrote, "Why didn't you ask him earlier?" And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, duh. So literally now, every time I see a videographer, it's usually during cocktail hour, and also keep in mind as a DJ, when you see the photographer and the videographer, I hope you're well aware of the fact that your day is just beginning. Their day is halfway over. If it's been a hot day, they're sweaty. They've been crawling around all day. They've been running around trying to get shots. So, have a little sympathy for them and where they are in their day compared to where you are. And this is part of it. I learned. So, hey man, how's the day gone? How is everything gone? Do you need an audio feed from me? So I'm proactive now, and I've had so many videographers go, "Oh my God, yeah, thank you so much." Like, I can't believe you asked me. I usually have to explain it to DJs and beg for them and show. I've had videographers tell me they've had to show DJs how to take an audio feed out of their board.
Wow.
And I go, on behalf of my entire industry, can I please apologize for somebody who doesn't know their equipment?
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that there are DJs in the world who don't know how to take an audio feed out of their board. So, I mean, that was an eye-opener for me a number of years ago. I was like, oh, yeah, duh. Why don't I just get proactive about it?
That's cool, man. That's
again, that's a first impression. And again, I've had so many videographers perk up and be like, thank you so much. And at the end of the night, they're like, dude, you're the coolest DJ I've ever worked with. And it's all because I was nice enough to ask them about that.
Sure. I love that one. That's a great tip, man.
So company polos, you're still a big fan of?
I am, man. I think it just kind of it makes people not be like, who is this guy, or what's he doing here? I mean, they see that brand on the shirt and they're like, okay. And if they don't know that it's us DJing, now they do, and they're like, oh man, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of Joe's guys.
You are reminding me that I haven't done a polo order in 2 years, and so I've got a number of new guys. Matter of fact, all the guys that are pretty much wrapping up training. If you've been a loyal listener, you know all winter long. Those guys need polos, and so when I get to the office today, I'm going to send an email, ask for sizes.
Same thing Randy did last week. He did the same. He sent out an email. Was like, look, summer's coming. I know, and season's coming. I know some of you probably have some of the white ones. Probably are dingy. I think we gave them like 3 color choices. Need your size, and we brought, just like you brought on 2 new guys. They're in the middle of training now, so we need to order them cards and all the other onboarding stuff, which is actually a good topic we can talk about at an upcoming episode. But we're bringing people on board. We're gearing up for what looks like to be another crazy year, and so, man, I can't I can't stress the importance of first impressions, just in general life. Shaking hands with people and looking them in the eye, to what you wear when you load in, to helping other people, to, like Mike said, I love that, being proactive and just asking the videographer instead of having to tear your booth apart 2 minutes before everybody's about to walk in the door. Just, hey man, I see you I see you the videographer tonight. Let me give you a line.
And I know you've mentioned this before. I didn't know if you were going to bring it up again. Don't ever make your first question, am I eating tonight? Or where am I eating tonight?
Oh my
Don't
God.
ever,
Please.
ever. The maitre d', you want to talk about the photographer and videographer, how crazy their day has been by the time you get there. The maitre d' has a million things on his or her mind. When you're eating, or even if you're eating, is the 1/1,000,000th as far as priority goes. So button it up.
Please.
You'll if you are getting fed, you will find out.
Exactly.
It should not be that big of a priority to you. So do not make that the first question.
Don't make it the question at all. Just
Right.
shut up, do your job, get paid, have fun, and just do not worry about the food, man.
Right.
It is a kiss of death. It is brought up to my attention more often than not how unclassy it is. If you take nothing away from this podcast other than this,
We saved the
worry.
no-brainer till the end. Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
please don't
Yeah.
worry about the damn food, man. Throw some peanuts in your bag, throw a granola bar in your bag. I don't care. Please do not let that ruin your potential career or potential referrals at that venue or with these people over some half-baked chicken. God dang it.
All right. Let's end on that note.
All right.
My friend.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Mike, thank you, man. I always love talking to you.
Always love chatting with you, Joe. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
Ciao.